Hello, everyone. Welcome to Minghui Radio, bringing you podcasts of stories relating to the persecution of Falun Gong in China, insights and experiences gained by practitioners during the course of their cultivation, special items of interest, and music composed and performed by Dafa practitioners.
In today's program, we bring you an experience-sharing article from the Taiwan Fa-Wei entitled, Look Within When Facing Sudden Conflicts, by a Falun Dafa practitioner in Taoyuan City, Taiwan. The article was published on the Minghui website on November 19, 2022. I was married in 1995 at the age of 27. Soon afterward, my new in-laws experienced a series of terrible tragedies. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with diabetes and had to have dialysis treatments 3 days a week. Once it took the nurse 2 hours to find a vein for her IV. She was a kind person and treated me as her own daughter. I felt sad watching her suffer. Not long after that, my sister-in-law had a motorcycle accident and ended up in the hospital in critical condition. When she had just started to recover, my father-in-law suffered a stroke. The medical expenses and other burdens were extremely stressful for the family. It was during this time that my first child was born. At about 1 month old, he became ill. He couldn't keep food down and eventually became emaciated. I was deeply frustrated at what happened to my loved ones and wondered what it all meant. What was the purpose of this life? I read many books during my mother-in-law's hospitalization and learned about the benefits of Qigong on health improvement. I thought I might try practicing Qigong at some point. My mother-in-law eventually passed away, which gave me some free time, and I started to search for a spiritual path and explore the meaning of life. One day a colleague gave me a flyer advertising a seminar in Taoyuan. It was a Falun Dafa experience-sharing conference, and I decided to go and take my husband. One article really touched me. This practitioner was a high school teacher, and she said that when her students made mistakes, she did not correct them immediately. Later, she looked inward and discovered that she had an attachment to her reputation. She worried that her students might get upset with her for correcting them. She wanted to get rid of her attachment and be responsible to her students. I sensed that this practice must be of a high level because even the teacher of a class held herself to such a high standard. I also liked the fact that the teaching of Falun Dafa is free and it does not involve money or gifts. I believed that this must be what I was looking for, and I took up Dafa cultivation. Part 1. Conflict when booking our conference room. I was a regional manager of an insurance brokerage company at that time. It happened 3 times in a row that the conference room I had booked was occupied by another team at the time I needed it. I felt embarrassed and was afraid that my colleagues would consider me incapable of handling such a trivial matter. I became furious and wanted to talk to my boss about setting up clear rules for booking the conference room. Luckily, I was able to remain rational, and I remembered that I needed to look inward, even though it looked on the surface to be my colleagues' mistakes. As soon as I thought of looking inward, a memory flashed into my mind. About a year ago, I booked all the available time slots for the conference room, even though I knew the other team had standing meetings and needed the room at specific times. I didn't feel bad at that time because they had forgotten to book the conference room. They ended up having to use a different place for their meeting. Recalling what happened, I was ashamed of myself and gave up the thought of complaining to my boss about the other team. I later talked to my boss about my thought process, and she said, "This Falun Dafa you are practicing must be a good practice." Interestingly enough, I no longer had trouble with my meeting room booking since then. Part 2. My children fight during the exercises. One day, about 6 years into my DAFA practice, I took my 2 boys to our group practice. They were in elementary school at the time. While we were doing the second exercise, they started fighting. My cheeks were burning with embarrassment, and I didn't know whether I should stop doing the exercises to break up the fight or just ignore it. I ended up ignoring it and finishing the exercises. The group coordinator came up to me and wanted to share her thoughts with me. I was sure she'd say something about my children's behavior, and I had mixed feelings about what to say. To my surprise, she said, "When I watched the 2 boys fighting, I was thinking that Master wanted me to see this scene on purpose, and I must look within." I thought to myself, my sons were fighting? Why did you need to look within? I was pondering why they fought. They seemed to be fighting over something trivial. So I keep thinking if I have fought over something trivial lately. Then I remembered that when a colleague recently asked me for my help to do something, I immediately rejected him and told him that I was too busy. I believed that I overestimated the importance of my own work and cared too much about myself. While I was still trying to find excuses for myself, her words immediately melted my heart. I was also shocked at how she looked at things. She demonstrated how to unconditionally look within. Part 3. Joining New Tang Dynasty TV. I have always understood the importance of TV media for truth clarification. New Tang Dynasty TV, NTD TV, broadcasts free satellite TV programs to all Chinese people, which is an excellent way to clarify the truth. However, my 20-year career in the insurance industry was not easy for me to leave behind. I visited Hong Kong about 10 years ago and participated in some truth clarification activities there. I observed that some Chinese people dared not take our materials in front of others, but would only take things from us when they were alone. I realized that TV programs would be a good way to let more people know the truth and made up my mind to join NTD TV. I wrote a long letter to all my insurance clients, telling them how much I had benefited physically and mentally from practicing DAFA, the truth about the persecution in China, and my wish to have their support. I was worried that my clients would complain about my decision to quit my job, but to my surprise, they all supported me. They complimented me on my competence and were happy for me. In recent years, I have been working as a manager in the production department of NTD TV. We are responsible for producing TV programs and a variety of customer service videos, such as commercials, microfilms, etc. Sometimes we wondered if we were really doing work related to truth clarification. The feedback from a practitioner in China boosted our confidence. He told us that he used one of our programs, which introduced Taiwan's good food and fun places, to clarify the truth. He first introduced this fun program to his friends and relatives. After receiving good feedback after a while, he introduced other programs like news and commentaries from NTD TV to them. Because people have different preferences, some may be indirectly exposed to the truth. We were impressed with the dedication and truth clarification efforts of practitioners in China and gained more confidence in our programs. Part 4. Improving in Group Cultivation Environment. Once, a colleague of mine, who was also a practitioner, told me that I was using my position to pressure others, and that I did several other things poorly. This criticism came so abruptly that I did not know how to respond. Nevertheless, I had the thought in my mind that I was not that kind of person, but I asked myself if I needed to look inward or not, and if I was 100% sure that I did not have these problems, or if maybe I did, even if only a little bit. Master wants us to cultivate away all of our attachments, which means we cannot keep even 5%. Did my colleague alert me to that attachment? I should thank her instead of rejecting what she said. My heart opened up suddenly, and I felt fresh and relaxed. Not every test was that easy to pass, however. I had thoughts of leaving NTD TV several times after receiving sharp criticism from practitioner colleagues. Once I calmed down, though, I realized that I would be walking on a path arranged by the old forces if I quit. They utilized the conflicts between practitioners to sow discord among us and break up our team. They would be happy if all of us left and the NTD TV folded. Why was I moved in wanting to leave when I encountered a challenge? I said to the old forces, I am not going to fall for your trap, and I just won't leave. I won't cooperate with you. But after passing this test, more tests came. I sent a message to one practitioner colleague about a certain task. In response, he bombarded me with criticisms one after another. I was discouraged and pondered what happened. After about 10 minutes, I realized I should not let this devolve into a conflict, but should instead think about why he was so upset. Thanks to Master's guidance, I realized that I did not make things clear during our meeting that morning, and so I decided to find another opportunity to explain. Right after I had this thought, he deleted all of his messages and told me that he was willing to give it a try. I finally realized that I was so obsessed with superficial appearances and cared so much about being hurt or wronged that I could not calmly determine what his concern was exactly. I discovered that when I thought too much about how others should behave, I fell to the realm of ordinary people and could not look within. Fortunately, we have the Fa to guide us. I read this passage during my study in the 3rd chapter of Master's book, Falun Gong. Quote, a practitioner should not only exercise self-control when he is in a conflict and is insulted to his face, but should also have a generous attitude and even be grateful to the other party. How could you improve your character if you didn't have that incident with the other person? How could the black matter be transformed into the white matter? How could you develop your gong? Unquote. Part 5. Concluding Remarks. Whenever I've had difficulties passing tests, reading the Fa always helped me realize that I have fallen back to the state of an ordinary person. When I reset my thinking to be in line with the Fa, the problems would be quickly resolved. I really have to thank my practitioner colleagues for helping me improve, and I need to make good use of these opportunities. Whenever I understood some Fa principles and improved my Ching Ching, my wisdom in dealing with things or creative thinking came to me naturally. Fortunately, it is not too late to realize all this. The more powerful the Fa is, the more frequent and difficult the tests will be. Let's pay more attention to Fa study and cultivation so that we can walk well the path Master has arranged for us. Thank you, Master, and thank you all.
Thank you for listening to the Minghui Radio podcast. For more information, including news about the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China and experience-sharing stories by practitioners around the world, please visit our website at en.minghui.org.